We're going to take a break today from the usual vintage Star Wars market updates and TVC market updates to take a look at modern Star Wars prototypes. I've got everything in here. I've got Black Series, I've got Gentle Giant, I've got a retro collection prototype that went for insane money, some Power of the Force, some other modern prototypes. I've even got some Funko Pop prototypes, and this is something we don't talk about regularly. If you guys are into this, there are lots of these that pop up on eBay. All of these sales are on eBay over the last, 3 or 4 months. But if you're looking to save a little money and you want to kind of dip your toe into modern prototypes, go check out the Facebook group Prototype Exchange. It's called Prototype Exchange. Just search for it on Facebook. If I remember, I'll put a link to the Prototype Exchange Facebook page. But there's lots of them that turn up there. Deal or No Deal on Facebook as well is another good site for finding modern prototypes. Occasionally, Deal or No Deal will have Modern Prototype Weekend, where they'll have, mock-ups and proof cards and, unpainted prototypes, that kind of thing. So there's lots of good resources other than eBay for finding these modern prototypes. But I wanted to kind of show you some prices, share some thoughts on some where appropriate. We're going to start off with this one. This is a graded example of the Star Wars Saga line from 2003, and this is Evan Peel. And all three of these prototypes are unpainted or, slightly painted, and they're all encased together by CAS, and it's graded 90. So pretty cool looking custom there. And so it's got all three different prototypes. For the Saga collection, those are the easiest to find and the cheapest, has been my experience. You can find Saga collection prototypes for relatively inexpensive. Now, this set of three was graded, and it is very, very pricey to grade modern prototypes. I haven't dealt with AFA in terms of modern prototypes, but CAS is very pricey. For a single prototype, it's like $150 loose graded just for the prototype, if not more than that. It can be more than that too, depending on the size and if there's any kind of customization for the case, things like that. So just be aware, if you're into buying them loose and ungraded and you want to get them graded, there's a substantial cost associated with grading those because they come with a larger certificate of authenticity. They got to do a little bit more homework, and they charge you for it. So proof cards and unpainted prototypes, you're going to pay a lot for it, even for the modern ones. This set of three sold for $99.99. Now, I would say that if you were going to do this yourself, you could have done it a lot cheaper. The Evan Peel prototype, you might pick it up for $100, maybe $150 at the top end. So let's call that $500, maybe all in for those. And grading all three of them together, you're probably talking $300 or so, maybe a little more. So maybe you didn't save too much money. I don't know. It just depends. In an auction, though, I bet you could pick up one of these Evan Peel prototypes for less than $100. They're very plentiful out there, and that's true for the entire Saga line. But that set of three did sell for $9.99 plus shipping. Next up, here's another first shot prototype, R2-D2 shield generator. He's got kind of like the electricity running through his body from when he tried to tap into the indoor shield on Return of the Jedi. I don't know what line this is from. Probably Power of the Jedi would be my guess. This one sold, it was listed for 385 euros, which is 424 US dollars. The best offer that was accepted was 350 euros, which is 385 US dollars. It seems like R2-D2 prototypes, Darth Vader's, Boba Fett's, Princess Leia's, those, and Luke Farm Boys, those can be pretty pricey even for the modern line. Any of the kind of the main characters, especially R2-D2 and C-3PO, very pricey. Princess Leia's, the Power of the Force 2 line for Princess Leia, they can go over $1,000. And speaking of the Power of the Force 2 line, we covered this one already in my watch list Purge edition, but this is a first shot head pull and torso pull. So not the entire figure is a prototype on this one, just the head and the torso. And that's common with this boss, this Power of the Force 2 boss. There's a lot of first shot head and torso pulls for the boss. There are also complete first shot prototypes that you can pick up. But this one sold for $225. That's probably about right for a complete prototype, not just the head and torso. This one will set you back $350 to $450. Some other Power of the Force 2 line figures that were prototypes. Here's the Zuckuss. This is a beautiful Power of the Force 2 example, unpainted, lots of cool colors on that one. That one sold for $300 in an auction, only one bid on that one. So they've come down a little bit in price. I'd say that this one complete with a prototype weapon like this one is. This was probably more like $350 to $400 last year, and now you can pick it up for $300. So they've come down a little bit, but not much. And I think the Power of the Force 2 line is a great area to focus on. I'm looking at my collection. I've got maybe 5 or 6 of them graded by CAS, so I don't have a huge collection. I did have a bunch of Saga line and some other lines, but I kind of sold all those off just to kind of focus only on Power of the Force 2 prototypes. But I haven't bought one in a while, but this one was a beautiful example. I might have bid on that one if I had seen it, but I did not. The most expensive, or one of the most expensive, is going to be the Boba Fett from the Power of the Force 2 line. These are usually very, very pricey. This one was an unpainted prototype. You can see there it's unpainted, and it's got the Wookiee braids there. So this one was from the deluxe edition that came with that big rocket pack. It's kind of a weird item from late in the Power of the Force line. They're saying 1996. I don't remember what year it was, but this one, it looks like it had no date stamps on it, so that's a little bit more desirable than ones with the date stamp. So this would be like an earlier prototype because it did not have the date stamps or the COO on the bottom of the feet. But you can see on that plug there, that could have been for the rocket pack. It could have been for that deluxe kind of gigantic mech thing that he had in one of the Power of the Force 2 lines. But nevertheless, you're going to pay a lot of money for a unpainted prototype Boba Fett from the Power of the Force 2 line. That one sold for $1,200. $1,200 in the US. This was an interesting one. This was a first shot prototype Rancor from the Power of the Force 2 line, but it was only the arms and one leg and I guess maybe a jaw. So it was only just the parts, and you can see the big pink hand there in non-production colors. So you're really only buying a partial prototype here. That's still sold for $850. I have seen complete Rancor prototypes, and they are very, very pricey. Very, very expensive. There's a couple of different really good Facebook groups devoted to Power of the Force 2 prototypes. Power of the Force 2 Happy Place, I believe, which is run by a friend of mine. That one he's got one of the most incredible collections of Power of the Force 2 prototypes. But I think that's another Facebook group that you can go take a look at if you want to see more of these Power of the Force 2 ones. But just the arms and the legs, and one leg and one jaw sold for $850. Speaking of inexpensive prototypes, you can often find a lot of Episode 1 figures that are relatively inexpensive. This one was Sebulba from the Phantom Menace, one of the pod racers. We all know him. This was one of the more expensive ones. This one and that weird flying creature that Anakin Skywalker was a slave to. I forgot his name, but he ran the junkyard. Watto, that's his name. Watto is another one that's pretty pricey for the Episode 1 figures, but anyway, Sebulba is one of the more pricey ones. That one sold for about $200. Watto is going to set you back even more than that, but you can find other ones from Episode 1 that are not that expensive. This is a very early prototype for the battle droid, so you can see it's non-sonically welded or non-kind of assembled. All the different parts are first shot prototypes, including a pack-in, a little tiny pack-in that came on the back of the packages, I assume, of the droid assault tank. So this is kind of a cool prototype, although I don't know what I'd do with this, just given that it's unassembled. But I guess you could splay it out in like a custom case with CAS if they do that. But that one did sell for $200. Captain Panaka. This one is a first shot prototype from 1999, unpainted, in non-production colors, blue, and along with first shot weapons. And so that one's 100% complete. That one sold for $180. So Episode 1 figures maybe are moving up just a little bit in price, but I have seen some that are less expensive than the ones I showed you here. This one, I don't know what to make of this one. Okay, I'm going to show it, although I'm not sure it's legit because this seller has sold like 5 of these. So, I mean, how many first shot prototype lightsabers can he really have? But these are like cast in resin. And apparently it's got a memorandum here for the production of Episode 1 that was kind of giving them some tips from Lucasfilm as to what the prototype should look like. And they're saying that it's a prototype lightsaber handle made from metal and served as the base for developing new lightsaber handle ideas during the production phase of Episode 1. So they're saying that this is like an early prototype for a prop used in Episode 1. Again, I have no idea if this is legit or not, but because this seller could have easily typed this up himself, but it's gotten 100% positive feedback. He has sold 3 or 4 of these for all around $350 to $450. So this one sold for $404, but I did find some other examples there. So it's an interesting item. Again, it's not something that's gradable, but you know, if you collect props or like prototype stuff, then that's kind of a unique item, assuming it's legit. But that one did sell for $404. Funko Pop prototypes. I had a subscriber that asked for me to cover Funko. I don't really know anything about Funko, but I did put together a couple of them here that sold. This one was a signed John Boyega prototype, Funko Pop for Finn. So, he's obviously the actor that played Finn. So the production example is signed by John Boyega. And then it also included a prototype Funko Pop of Finn. So it's kind of a double there, Funko prototype. It's got a little sticker there. So this set was actually, the prototype was sourced on Facebook, according to the notes there. It was listed for $800. It sold for $700. So even Funko Pop prototypes, admittedly, you're getting a Finn signed example for the retail release, but this also included the prototype for $700. So even those are expensive. Here's another one. This is a Funko Pop Freddy as Boba Fett, and this is a prototype. So it's got Funko Freddy dressed as Boba Fett, and it's a prototype, unpainted prototype. That one sold for $311. So even that one can be expensive. You can see the rocket pack on the back there. But I found a number of other examples for Funko Pop prototypes, and they're all pretty pricey, kind of $300 to $500. Here's a Star Wars Unleashed Evacuation at Echo Base prototype set. So these are a little bit smaller, kind of like micro collection sized. And you can see there it's got the radar dish, and it's got a Rebel soldier on a tri-cannon there, along with the larger turret. So it's kind of a cool looking example of an unpainted prototype. That one sold in an auction for $152.50, and it's got the LFL China on the bottom there. I can't tell what year that is, but I'm guessing it's kind of the early 2000s for that set. But that's an unpainted kind of like miniature set, very reminiscent of the micro collection there. Maybe a little bit larger though, so you can kind of get a sense of what that looked like. So pretty cool item, $152.50. This is an interesting one. There was a seller on Facebook that was like selling over the course of one weekend a number of different unpainted prototype retro collection. Very tough to find and very expensive. So they were going for crazy money on Facebook, and one seller had like all of them. And this one is the Luke Snowspeeder. So this was the pack-in for that Ice Planet, Hoth Ice Planet Adventure board game re-release. This was a pack-in inside there. So this is the unpainted example with non-production colors, yellow and kind of brown there. And this one was sold in China. And that's common for a lot of these modern prototypes, is that somebody steals them out of the factory or is able to take them out of the factory, and then it's Chinese sellers on eBay or Hong Kong or whatever that end up selling these. You see a lot of Black Series prototypes that get sold there. They're most likely legit. I mean, I haven't really seen any fakes because they're sourced in China, so you gotta get them shipped from China. But this one sold for $676. So big money on the Luke Skywalker Snowspeeder Retro Collection prototype. Very cool item though. Next up are some Gentle Giant sales. The first one is a rocket-firing Boba Fett Gentle Giant with the rocket on the back there. That one sold for $365. And then here was another one that did not have the rocket. You can see there, it's got the plug-in for the backpack, but it doesn't actually have the backpack. That one sold in a buy it now situation from Argentina for $439. So this one was probably a better deal because it actually included the rocket. But for $365, again, that one was in Hong Kong, China. And this one was in Argentina. That one sold for $440. And then here's another one. This is a Gentle Giant for Wicket. So an unpainted Wicket Gentle Giant. That one sold for $295. That one also was in China. And you'll see that a lot. Just expand your search. If you go to your eBay app on your phone, under your settings, you can change your settings to search all listings, not just in the US or wherever you are. If you're in the UK, your settings automatically default to only include listings from your specific country, or if the seller in the US does ship to the UK, for example, some of them will show up, some of them will not. So if you go to your settings and change your country to, or change your search function to worldwide, it'll pop up for a lot of these because they do ship internationally. You just got to, change your settings and kind of play with things a little bit. But that one was free shipping. That one sold for $295. Here was one that was in the U.S., another Gentle Giant. This one is Zuckuss/Forlom. You can see there it's got the peach hands and feet, completely unpainted. So another really cool prototype. That one sold for $202.50. That's a pretty good buy on that one. I think that was a good buy. Next up, the same seller had a paint sample prototype for Luke Hoth in the Gentle Giant scale. And on the leg there, you can see there it's got the factory kind of writing on that. And you'll see that on a lot of these modern prototypes where the engineer is sampling the equipment to make sure it's producing them fine. And then they'll mark on them with a marker as to what day it was produced and maybe the initials of the engineer. So that's the case on this one. This one was produced in 2014, so it did have some writing. Sometimes the writing will be in Chinese, and that may be the case on that one. I don't know. But anyway, that prototype paint sample sold for $190.50 plus shipping. Next up, we've got a 6-inch Black Series Luthen from the Andor series. So again, this is in China, and that one sold for $300. So this one was kind of unassembled, so you're buying kind of the parts for it. And, it could be a mishmash of parts on that one. This one also had writing, as you can see there on the side. It's kind of a numbering system that the factory uses. Who knows what that is. But this one did not have any date stamps on the feet either. So this is Luthen from the Andor series. Great likeness, by the way, for Luthen. Lots of different non-standard production colors on that one. But that one did sell for $300. This one sold for $204.50. This is the Jango Fett from the Black Series, probably a re-release. It did not include the helmet or the pistols or the rocket pack, although I have seen a number of examples on eBay that were 100% complete with the helmet unpainted, the unpainted backpack, as well as the first shot prototype pistols. That one sold again for $204.50. This was probably the bargain of the year, though. This one included 10 Black Series prototypes, all first shots. You can see all the wacky production colors there. You got some Force Awakens figures. You've got some other kind of figures, a prototype, Boba Fett's, things like that. And there's the marking there on that one. This one included all the weapons there. Got 2 pistols as well as the blaster rifle and the unpainted helmet on that one. So very cool prototypes on this batch, and this was in the UK, and this batch of all of them sold for $303, which is 236 Great British pounds. That one closed on June 11th. So look at that. What a bargain. You got all of those different prototypes for about $300 US. So somebody got a really good deal on that one. So anyway, I just thought we'd cover something a little different today for those of you out there looking for modern prototypes. Wanted to give you kind of a rough price guide. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll be back soon.